Hello, beautiful people. Hi, how have you been? So life has been a little crazy, but that's okay. It's all good things. I'm going to get into it later. I just haven't had time to put all my thoughts together, but everything's great and fine. Today we're going to do things a little differently. I'm going to go over the top 5 bosses that I think you should get into when you're starting PVM in RuneScape. That said, let me just say that there are so many bosses in RuneScape and they're all good in their own way. They all have pros and cons. I mean, even Giant Mole is kind of cute. What I'm saying is, take this for what you will. This is what I think is great, but it doesn't mean that it's what everyone should do or will be something that will work for everyone. Everyone has a different way of learning, a different way of playing, and that's just something that you have to decide for yourself. So let's get started. Coming in at number 5 for me is going to be Hellwyr. Now, this is a very old classic boss at this point, and it's where a lot of people started PVM, myself included, was in God War 2, well, at Vindicta, but I like Hellwyr for a lot of reasons. Hellwyr requires you to move around, use a shield switch, and get comfortable with some basic defensive abilities like Devotion. With only a few mechanics to worry about and hits that you can just run away from if things go terribly wrong, this is a very beginner-friendly boss. You can also farm your tier 85 magic wand and orb for your totally relatable PVMing adventures. It's honestly just a win-win. The reason why I specifically like Hellwyr over other God War Dungeon 2 bosses is because it is a little harder than Vindicta and Twin Furies, in my opinion, of course, but not as painful as Greg. Greg is built different. Twin Furies are great for practicing AoE abilities, Vindicta is a great boss to face if you feel like you need to start slow, and Greg is Greg and Greg's gonna Greg. What that means is don't go there if you're new to PVM, it's just bad vibes. In Hellwyr, you get to deal with minions, you deal with typeless tick damage, you can practice staying alive with Soul Split. It's just great for so many reasons. In 4th place, we have Croesus, and let me stop you there, I know what you're thinking. Croesus is a skilling boss. How is that going to help me learn PVM rotations? Well, let me explain my reasoning here. So, the price of PVM is just too dang high. Croesus is an amazing boss for funding PVM learning, which involves using a lot of supplies and spending a lot in death costs. Criploom is still pretty expensive, and even if you don't want to use magic, you can sell it to afford other gear, abilities, supplies, and upgrades, or keep it in PVM and easy mode with style and class. Either way, Croesus is good for getting you what you need without having to invest too much up front. Even after the change in the loot tables recently that got rid of herbs from bosses, while the loot at Croesus was nerfed, Criploom is still Criploom, and Criploom gonna Criploom. So no, this boss won't help you practice your insane big booty DPS rotations, but it will help you get where you want to be later on, and money is very important early game, especially if you're new and you have to buy most things. In 3rd place, I'm putting Elite Dungeon 2. All of the Elite Dungeons are great, but ED2 specifically is really good for future unkillable PVM legends and training to hone their PVM skills and make some money in the process. In Elite Dungeon 2, there's a lot of opportunities to practice. You can do prayer flicking, hitting and running, use of defensive abilities, and so much more. There's also a lot more involved boss mechanics than other lower level bosses. I would actually put this as kind of a mid-tier boss, but the dungeon itself is still quite chill once you have a basic understanding of what you're doing, and it doesn't require a lot in terms of abilities and skill and damage output to get it done. And the rewards here are good too. With the price of Draconic Energies higher than it was in the past, the potential Codex drops to pad the cash stack, and the Onyx Dust and Onyxes if you use a Ring of Death, your deaths are basically free. Elite Dungeon 3 and 1 are fun, but they are a bit spicier and better suited to mid-level PVM legends if you're going to solo. I'm assuming you're going to be soloing, not because I don't think you have any friends, but because you're an unkillable PVM legend in the making who wants to test your abilities. ED2 is just a boss that a lot of people find to be really fun to do, so it's really great if you can learn, practice, and have fun while doing it, while also making some money. It's a great place to be if you're getting started. I'm going to preface this next one by saying that I don't like this boss. However, it is an amazing boss to do if you're new to PVM, you want to do something that's not so intense, but still punishes you if you don't do the mechanics right. This is Nex that I'm talking about. Solo Nex is no joke, especially if you're a major like me who doesn't even know where they have their abilities on the bar. This boss is spicier than eating a bowl of habanero soup. Next is going to make you pay attention to things like boss mechanic animations. You're going to have to switch gear potentially if you solo, use defensives, pay attention to ability keybinds and not use certain abilities at the wrong time. You'll have to tank big hits and kill minions all while moving around. You'll also want to practice doing big booty DPS because the longer you're in the kill, the worse this is going to be for you. And Nex is gonna Nex, you know? So spicy. I also think it's good that it's better to use a different combat style here, because one thing that I've always done is just use magic, and there are other combat styles. Do I like them? Not so much, but they're good, they're amazing, they work great, and you get to use it here. A last good thing about this boss is that now a lot of drops sell for a pretty penny, so you can make good money if you get lucky. I actually did just one kill for this video really quickly, and I got a pair of Torva gloves. That never happens, so honestly, I'll take it. And finally, coming in at number 1, you can probably say this one with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Arch-Glacor. Did you get it right? This boss is just the cat's meow for beginner players. Being able to customize the boss fight and practice mechanics one by one or in any combination that you desire makes this boss fight the ultimate baby legend friendly boss. Not having death costs in normal mode is also major if you're new to PVM and your cash stack is looking a little thin. This takes all of the pressure out of PVM and allows you to just focus on doing the mechanics well. You'll have to prayer flick, use defensives, move around to avoid hits, deal with minions, and you're going to see a lot of stop mechanics, which are very common in RuneScape bosses. You can also get most of the drops in normal mode, so you can make some money here too, even if they're not the most expensive drops. The Scripture of Wen is an amazing upgrade if you're using a God Book or Scrimshaw, so farming one of those bad boys is going to be amazing. In my opinion, Glacor is the ultimate beginner boss and is the best introduction to PVM that there is in the game. So that's my top 5. What's your top 5? Let me know in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What would you do differently? I think it would be very constructive for a lot of people to see because there's just so much that you can do and a lot of it is great. If this is your first time here, don't forget to like and subscribe and I will see you in the next video. Bye friends!